Robert Williams. It's great hanging out with you here at your place.
Paradise, don't you know?
Talking about KZAP, the good old days.
Yes.
So you started there a year after it started.
Right.
In other words, you started in '69.
I was hanging around all its first year during '68. I was working at KERS at Sac State and doing a show there and being involved in student management. Me and Ken Wardell were involved at KERS. He actually went on the air before I did at KZAP, because we were hanging out there that whole first year that KZAP was on the air, meeting, getting to know people, being envious of those guys doing real radio. We were just doing KERS, but that was important actually at the time. In more hindsight, college radio was the
thing.
breeding ground for a whole lot of this kind of thing. And I had gone to Sac State thinking I would be there for only a semester because I wanted to go to San Francisco State because that was close to where radio was really exciting. Because KMPX and KSAN were going strong. And somehow I thought, well, if I could get into college radio, maybe I could evolve to that level in San Francisco. But they were full. Went to Sacramento thinking it would be for a semester and then transfer back. And that was the fall of '68 when KZAP was going on the air. We categorized everything. We did an A, B, C, D, and it was color-coded, so it was really psychedelic. So,
was that the beginning of that type of system?
Yeah, and it didn't ever really get too much more beyond that. It tightened up. It kept getting tighter, but not to any drastic degree. In an hour, you had to play something like 2 E's, 3 D's, an A, a B, and a C, something like that. I forget what it actually was.
And was that a suggestion or a requirement?
That was a requirement.
Okay.
But you could put it in any order you wanted.
Yeah.
You could put all your E's in a row and have a little oldies set if you wanted to. Okay, well, the picture's gone, but this is 13th floor in 73, and the new office is in 73. So that's when we moved from 11th and J in the Elks Temple to 9th and J over Patricia Stevens Finishing School. That's what the awning said.
Okay.
And it overlooked what we called Wino Park. This is now
Chavez Park.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the same block was a porno movie theater, a really great deli to eat at, a bar, I think a dirty bookstore, and the library. Forgotten about that.
Was that in the Union?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So you got to introduce a lot of bands.
Yeah, that was my ego trip, getting on stage, and a lot of it was because some of the other people just weren't that interested. It was like, oh, too, what's the word? Too egomaniacal, I don't know.
That's funny because you have to have some kind of ego to be on radio in the first place.
And I enjoyed that kind of thing because I took it seriously. I hated hearing announcers that you couldn't hear, they'd mumble.
Right.
So I tried to be real clear. I'd try to make sure the mic was on before I started talking, you know, little things like that.
Did you yourself know Bill Graham?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you describe Bill Graham?
Well, let me describe him. This is my first encounter with Bill Graham. My first in-person encounter with Bill Graham was before I did any radio whatsoever. I have the poster in there too. It was Big Brother and the Holding Company, Iron Butterfly, and Booker T and the MGs. Anyway, a friend and I were going to a show, the old Fillmore, to see that show. The Fillmore area in San Francisco at that point hadn't gone through the redevelopment that's taken place since then. It was a ghetto area. And so a friend and I came up from Foothill College to go see the show. My friend had a camera with him, and we got mugged on the way in.
Wow.
We weren't hurt. The camera was taken and broken subsequently. So Bill Graham was always at the shows. So we're going up the steps to the Fillmore, and we just felt at the time, being naive and not realizing that, you know, who's going to catch these guys. But we reported it to Bill, who was standing right there. He got indignant, and the more I learned about him later, he got indignant because he really felt personally responsible for his patrons, the people that came to the Fillmore. He wanted them to feel safe. He wanted them to get there and have a good time. And here we report getting mugged and losing the camera. He said, come on, come on. And so he raced down the stairs, and we followed him down. Which way did they go? Where did this happen? And so we went a couple of blocks to wherever this happened and tried to find these guys. And no, we never found them at all. But that encounter just, to me, said he was a good guy. He cared about the people that come to see his shows. It wasn't just the money. And prior to this, and this was like 68, before KZAP went on the air, maybe even 67, he was starting to get a bad rap in the press about because he made money, because he put on good shows and made money doing it. And made money. I mean,
did he run other promoters out of business?
The show we went to see cost $350 to get in.
Okay.
You know, so, and I got turned on to so much music that way through his booking procedures. You know, putting Albert King on and John Mayall and Jimi Hendrix together. I mean, just Grateful Dead.
Back in those days, was he just concentrating on San Francisco, or did he get involved in Sacramento shows?
He was starting to. Because I wasn't in Sacramento at that point.
Oh, okay.
He, I think, was starting to. Obviously, did get into Sacramento shows, and so when I started getting into radio in Sacramento, and he started doing shows in Sacramento, there was an obvious business tie-in.
Right.
And me being either music director or program director, I was involved closely with the sales department in developing the concept of KZAP Presents shows. I mean, you hear about Bill Graham Presents. Well, Bill Graham Presents in Sacramento, KZAP Presents that show. It's a Bill Graham show. So there was room, the wording was all there somehow, but
he became a big part.
He became
just
a major part of the Sacramento scene after the early places like the Sound Factory came and went. And me being at KZAP, it was a perfect excuse to have a business relationship with him that turned to some extent into a personal relationship with him. Anyway, so he was a major part of early KZAP.